In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn this old Dell Inspiron 3847 into a gaming computer like this. Now, before I go on with this gaming case transfer video, I really appreciate it if you guys go ahead and hit the like button down below, and if you're new to my channel, hit the sub, and please share this video. I really appreciate it very much. So as usual, I'm going to start off first showing you what the inside of this Dell Inspiron 3847 looks like, what it came with, and then I'm going to take this thing apart and show you the motherboard and pretty much all the connections that you need to do to make a successful gaming case transfer. Now, as you can see, this is your typical Dell Inspiron case here with the motherboard. They all look pretty much the same. This version came with an Intel i5 4th generation, also 8 gigs of RAM, 2 sticks of 4s, and also comes with a Wi-Fi and a Bluetooth network card right there. So that's very useful for a transfer, as well as a 500 gigabyte hard drive. All this could be used for a gaming case transfer, save you a lot of money. And what's good about these OEM desktops, as long as you get a legit one and somebody didn't take the original Windows 7 serial number off of it, that could be used for your new build. And that's a legitimate way of getting a Windows 10 for free, because as I'm sure you will still know, that you could still upgrade a licensed Windows 7, either Home or Pro, to a 10, and then you got yourself a full licensed legitimate Windows 10. And that's why I like these older systems, because pretty much they come with the Windows 10 for free, and that saves you a lot of money too. Also, this case came with a DVD drive. I actually removed it. I was using it for something else that you could also transfer to a your new gaming case. Depends which kind you're gonna get. If you're gonna get one of those new modern ones where there isn't any slots for a DVD drive, that's fine. It's really up to you. Of course, we're not going to use this power supply. This is usually around 280 watts, and that really defeats the whole point of building a gaming case, gaming computer out of this using the old power supply, so forget about that. But other than that, we could use all of these things here and make it look really nice. So next step, I'm going to go ahead and take out the motherboard and go over everything on it, what could be used to work with the case. So without further ado, stay tuned for that. Alright, so now I have the motherboard out of the case. This is the most important part of the video, so pay attention. So in my recommendation, I would keep this cooler. I would just take it out, clean it, put new thermal paste, because you cannot overclock with this motherboard. In this case, like I mentioned, it comes with the 4th generation i5 4460, I believe, something like that. You're not going to overclock. It shouldn't get hot. This is a pretty decent cooler too, especially when you're going to have it in a gaming case with the open air. A lot of extra fans, so you just clean it up. Don't waste money on another cooler. Makes no sense for a build like this. Okay, so next we have here is the IO shield, and that's why I like these older Dell computers, because the IO shield is just like an aftermarket motherboard, so this clips right in and gives you a nice clean look. Okay, next we have this going to be your front audio jack here, so that's fully compatible with any aftermarket case. Same pin out, you just plug it in and you'll have your front audio. Here are your two front USB 2.0s. Now this particular motherboard did not come with the 3.0 option, so you're not going to have a front 3.0 USB. I believe if it was a better model board or something, it looks like it could have been here, but it's all empty. But this case, this motherboard does come with few 3.0s for that faster transfer, so not too bad at all. Also, the good news is this motherboard will take any aftermarket power supply off the bat without any adapters. It has a 4-pin, let me just show you here really quick. See, 4-pin header and a standard 24. So you're not gonna need any other adapters like in my other gaming case transfers. They do require a specific adapter that you have to order on eBay or something like that, or on Amazon. So that's the good news. But the bad news is the front panel. To get it working, I'll explain you that in a second. Let's just go over one last thing here. Also, as you can see, this computer came with the network card, and it's a Bluetooth. I believe it goes all the way up to 5G. So you definitely should keep that. That's a good little feature to have. And here are your little antennas. 1 and 2, black and white. And then basically, once you do your build, then you you know, put it in the best location to get the best signal. And of course, you will see the final product at the end, towards the end of the video. See how it all looks, how clean it's gonna look. Yeah. So also, it came with 2 sticks of 4 gigs for 8 gigabytes total. Now I believe this motherboard could go up to 16, 2 sticks of 8. So that's something you might want to do, upgrade, depending on which you know, setup you have. So next here is the final phase and the most important thing. Now this is your front panel. Now this is going to be just like the video I did on the Dell Inspiron mini desktop. I believe it was like a 3647, some kind of number like that. I don't remember, but unfortunately the front panel, let me show you. You know, I left this on because I was testing it to see if there's any errors or any issues, but unfortunately you're gonna have to keep this this front panel connection just the way it is, because of the jumper that Dell did, I guess, specifically for that reason. Very important. You see how there's a loop? There's one loop for the first couple of pins, and then one loop that goes actually into your power button. So you're gonna have to keep this the way it was. Now I originally opened it up where the gap is and try to split it, where I keep the loop down here and then just have the power connection connected from your case, but that still wouldn't work. So what happens is the motherboard turns on, but without this jumper you will not get any display. So the conclusion is you're gonna leave this header just the way it is, leave it on, and what you're gonna do is basically trace it down to your power connection, which will be this blue. Let me just see here 1 second. Okay, so it's going to be the blue and this brown wire. Again, at the end you will see it, and that's what you're going to splice. Just like that, you're going to splice it probably a bit further down the line to your aftermarket case power switch button, and it's going to work like a charm, and it's going to look good, and you're just going to hide the rest behind there, behind the motherboard somewhere, nice and neat, to give that good look. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm just going to show you what it finally looks like inside of the new case, and then maybe we'll test out a game or two and see how it comes out. So stay tuned for that. And here it is, the Dell Inspiron 3847 gaming case transfer is now complete. Now first, we're going to take a look at the parts that I used for this transfer. Then we're going to take a closer look inside at the wiring, and followed by some gaming test benchmarks. So let's start off with all the parts that I used. Now for this specific build, I try to keep it as budget as possible and utilizing as many parts as I can from the original Inspiron desktop. For the gaming case, I'm using a DIY PC brand Zondda B mid-tower case that could be found on Newegg for around $30. Now I like this case because it's roomy, it's a bit old school looking, it does have a window panel, so that's good, and comes with 220mm blue LED fans, which is just enough for that little razzle dazzle. And it has a slot over there for a DVD drive, which I am utilizing the original drive from the Dell Inspiron, as well as the 500 gigabyte Western Digital mechanical drive, which is pretty old. It has a date of 2013 on it. But it seems to work still pretty fine. And now, of course, it's up to you what kind of drive you want to use. Of course, I would recommend you throwing in at least 120 gig SSD drive for your primary operating system, and an additional 500 or a terabyte drive mechanical for additional storage. That's really the way to go. But in this video, what I wanted to show you is how easy it is to transfer the Dell Inspiron into a gaming case. Now, what's good about this particular model here, it is a 4th gen i5 4440 i5 processor running at 3.1 gigahertz, and I think turbo up to 3.3. Still a good platform, plenty to utilize for the newer games and some of the older games. It also came with 8 gigs of DDR3 RAM running at 16 gigs 1600 megahertz. Now, this motherboard does go up to 16, and I would recommend you upgrading to 16 gigs of RAM. It really help out with some of the modern games. Seem to utilize a lot of the RAM now, and this will be kind of a bottleneck. But for what we're doing here, it's working just fine. Also, I'm using the original Wi-Fi / Bluetooth card, working just great, just fine for what I'm using here. As you can see, the wire runs up to the side and to the top, and then I just have the 2 wires basically just taped with electrical tape just to hide it a little bit. But it works very good. It's only 2G, but it does its job. You could always upgrade in the future to a 5G card, no problem, you know, in one of the either USB ports or one of the PCI Express slots, so that should not be an issue. What else? I am using the original stock cooler, as you could see. Of course, if you're going to do something like this, go ahead and take off the cooler, clean up the thermal paste, put the new stuff on. Makes a difference. And I always like to put a nice Intel. See, I have a lot of old Intel original coolers that came with the processors, which are all junk anyways. And I like to use that sticker, the Intel sticker, on top of that, just to give that nice look to it. Just something I like to do. Also, whatever else you could use of the old Inspiron, like the i5 sticker logo, I took it off and put it on this case. And what's great about these OEM desktops, you could use the Windows 7 Home or Pro serial code, you know, the activation code. Activate it, go that route, do the Windows 7 first, activate it, then upgrade to Windows 10, and now you got yourself 100% free, legitimate Windows 10. That's the really good part about with these older generation motherboards. As if you know that the newer ones, they don't even take Windows 7 anymore, so you can't really go that route and get it for free. So that's the great part. So like I said, I try to get everything off the off the Dell Inspiron just to save some money, and I suggest you do the same. Okay, so now for the power supply, I have this ThermalTake Pure Power 500 watt power supply. Now, it's nothing fancy, but it has the right connections for this build. It's not rated, and again, it's really up to you how much money you want to spend on a power supply. You know, I had this thing laying around. This is a pretty old power supply, probably like 8 or 9 years old, and it works. And that's all I care about. For this build, I basically using the GTX 660, which requires an additional 6-pin connection, and this power supply has it. So I'm really happy for the power overall for this build. It's just right, just enough power to handle everything. And again, that's something to keep in mind, what kind of graphics card you're going to put in. And that's where you pretty much draw your conclusion on the power supply you're going to use. But for something like this, just perfect. I had this power supply laying around, might as well use it. And the GTX 660 is a decent little card. Pretty much, this is the lowest end of 600 series. That's still decent. If you go any lower to like a 650 Ti, they really suck. You can't really do much, but you're gonna see the results. You might be surprised what kind of performance I was able to get out of this build, which you'll see at the end. So now we're just going to take a closer look inside at some of the wiring. I'm just going to go over really quick. I'm going to take out the graphics card and zoom in there and just show you what it looks like. So stay tuned for that. Alright, so now for a closer look. Now this is going to be the most important part of the video. I really appreciate it if you guys are still with me here. Finally I get to the most important stuff here. So let's take a look at all the wiring. Now as you could see right here is the front audio connection. It's fully compatible with any aftermarket case. So goes in right directly in there, no issues. Now this particular motherboard, right here you might not see it, but it looks like maybe a higher end version would have had the USB 3.0 front panel, but this one does not have it. But right here, right above it, is, see this wire here? Let me take a look. Let me bring it up a notch here. Yeah, there it is. Now that's a front panel USB 2.0, and yes, it is fully compatible. Goes right in with no issues. There's also a green one here. I didn't use that. So there's two front panel 2.0s here. Fully compatible. All the pins match up just like in any aftermarket motherboard. So that's good to go. Also you have right here the connection for your rear fan, which is a 3-pin motherboard header. Fully compatible with a aftermarket fan, and you are going to need something like that with a 3-pin, otherwise you're going to get an error. So you definitely need your rear fan here connected so you don't get an error. And also the good news is this motherboard, let me just go lower a little bit here, has another system fan or so connection here. So I have the front panel, the front 120mm fan connected to this, and everything works off the motherboard. That's just great. Otherwise, if you want to connect additional fans, you would use the Molex of your aftermarket power supply and just connect it that way if you want additional fans. But this motherboard is got, you know, connections for two fans, front, rear, and of course right here is going to be your CPU fan, and it has a connection up there. So, you know, that just common sense there. And now let's take a look. That's the Wi-Fi card that came in here / Bluetooth. So I have it connected, and I just run the wire up to the top and just nicely hide it on top here. At the very top, I just have it taped up. I feel like on top would get the best possible reception. I just tried moving it around everywhere else, so it looks like if it's here, you are going to get the best reception for the Wi-Fi card. Okay, so now the last and the most important part right here. This is it. Let me try to zoom in even closer for you. All right. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, this is your front panel. Now, as I mentioned, that Dell has this loop here, this jumper that you can't bypass. So what you do is you just leave this piece alone, and you're gonna find on this jumper two cables. It looks like a dark blue and a brown, which is, these two are connected to the loop of the jumper. That's where your power button is. It's very simple. Okay, just like the other video I done prior to this with another Dell Inspiron. You're gonna just basically just splice these two wires with the front panel of this any aftermarket case. I always suggest to just give that little extra slack, and what I have it basically is just spliced, connected to each other. It's very simple. It's really process of elimination. Usually the front panel is like an orange and white wire. So I believe I have the orange wire connected to the brown and a white wire to the dark blue. And if that doesn't turn on, you just do it the other way around. It's just really one or the other in case you get confused or forget. And you know, you just tape it up with some electrical tape, and that's it, and you're ready to go. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the transfer. As you can see, it's very easy. Everything is compatible here except just this one jumper. And what you do is you basically, I have it hidden in the back. You know, that way it doesn't stick out. And that's it. It's as easy as that. So without further ado, let's take a look how this bad boy performs in some of the games that I've chosen for this video. So stay tuned. Alright, so the first game I'm going to start off with is the good old Fortnite. And you definitely shouldn't have any problem running this game with this hardware here. So let's take a look at the settings. Full screen, 1080p, full scale resolution, FPS unlimited, and we are on the lowest settings. And we have the DirectX 11 rendering mode, multi-thread on, and NVIDIA reflex low latency on. And these are the kind of FPS you could expect. Definitely pretty good. And you could even go down to medium, maybe even high. But if you want to keep competitive and stay around that 100 FPS, low settings on full scale 1080p is going to be just right. And remember, this game is really not that graphical. So even on 1080p full scale, low settings, the game looks fantastic. And once again, I do want to mention that I am using the original Wi-Fi card. That's right, 2G Wi-Fi card off of the Dell Inspiron in this system here. And as long as you have high-speed internet, you should have no issues running this game here. It runs just perfectly smooth. .2G is still pretty good, in my opinion. Alright, well, that wraps it up for this game. Let's move on to the next one. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5 is definitely one of the best GPU-friendly games out there, and in this case, it appears so. Now, let's take a look at the settings. As you can see, we're on 1080p full screen. Motion blur off. Pretty much this is like the normal settings here. Nothing too fancy. Let's take a look what we got here. Yep. And as you could see, we are definitely getting some good FPS. Now, what I've found out that some of the older GPU combinations with the certain processors really run this game real well, and better in some cases than some of the newer stuff.
Like that? Bobby Big.
Yeah, as you could see, it's running really smooth. Now we're on normal, and you could easily, with this combination here, with the i5 and a 660, could easily run this game on high settings, and even with some mixture of very high, and still get good FPS. But you know, as you can see, we're here averaging about 100 FPS, which is fantastic. The game runs really smooth, no issues, looks great, and believe it or not, I got this GTX 660 a while back, only for 20 bucks. Can you believe that? 20 bucks. And you throw this into a budget build, and you got yourself something really nice. That's why I like to really hold on to my stuff. And you know, anytime I see a 600 series card, 660 and up, for like 20, 30, 40 bucks, I just grab it just to have it, you know, for backup, for testing, you know, things like that. But unfortunately, I don't know if everybody heard that NVIDIA is going to stop supporting the latest drivers for 600 and 700 series sometime in October. Now, of course, that doesn't mean you can't play the older titles, but going forward with some of the newer releases that's going to require, you know, the latest drivers to run, that's going to be an issue, and that sucks because these old cards are really fantastic. Alright, so that concludes Grand Theft Auto 5. Let's see what's next in line. Now, Battlefield 5 is a bit harder to run than the previous two, so let's take a look what we got here. Okay, 1080p full screen, VSync off, motion blur off, and on the lowest possible preset here. Even at this setting, the game still looks good. Let's see what we got for the FPS. Alright, not bad at all, definitely playable. Now, I forgot to mention, just to squeeze a little bit of juice out of this card, I have it overclocked by 50 megs on the core and 100 megs on the memory clock, just to get a couple FPS, and it seems to make a little bit of a difference. But nevertheless, look at this, running this game 1080p, no issues. Now you could go into medium, we'll drop down to like 40 something, and it'll still be smooth. Now also, since this card is a blower style, I do like to keep this running at 60% on the fan speed, and it gives really good temperatures, as you could see. Very smooth. This game is running really good. Hey. Well, gotcha. Real nice. That reminds me, I better review this card a little bit into depth and try to run some of the harder games too. Oh, wrong button. Alright, that concludes this game. On to the next one. And now I'm going to wrap up this video with Gears 5. Definitely a nice looking game. I'll take a look at the settings. And I am on 1080p, full screen, and this is pretty much medium preset right here. With motion blur off. And it is quite playable. And still look pretty nice too. Now, if you stayed to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. And please, guys, go ahead and hit the like button down below. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe and share the video. Help me out. It seems like YouTube is hiding my videos for some reason. I don't know. are really not getting that, you know, exposure at all. Even sometimes when I search my video by the title and nothing comes up. So I really appreciate it. So as you could see, an old system like that with an old graphics card is definitely good. I mean, could definitely enjoy a lot of games. And I might review the 660 a bit further with a more powerful processor with some more harder games to run. Very curious how it will perform. So yep, that wraps it up, and I'll see you guys in another video. Goodbye.